Insurance, you indemnify me. My name is Sean Michael Walker, and today we have Chris Long in the office. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, how's it going?
Very freaking
Long time
good.
listener,
Thank you.
first time caller.
Okay. I gotta say, I'm super excited to have you on board. I've been on like social media. I've been saying, hey, we have like a Premier Group Insurance top 10 agent, like consecutive top 10 agent at Premier Group Insurance on the microphone. I've actually asked a bunch of agents, like, what do you want to know from this agent?
Yeah.
What do you want to hear from him? What are his tips and tricks and secrets and all that kind of stuff? So, so got some audience participation coming in today. Okay. And I think a lot of folks are just interested to hear what you are doing, who you are, and what you're doing to have wild freaking success as an insurance agent.
Yeah, well, fun fact.
Yeah.
I believe I was the first agent that you ever signed up at.
I
Premier.
think you were. You were.
Yeah.
I always get confused about this, but you were either number 1 or 2.
So it's my 10-year anniversary on May 1st. So
And
I
I
started
hit 10
here May
years.
1st, 2013.
You must have been. Well, again, you were 1 or 2. The other one was Maria Cardione, and I always get confused, like, were you or Maria Cardione first? I think you were first.
Let's pull up the contracts, check the dates of the signatures. I need to know this.
We could have the answer to that question
Yeah.
like lightning fast.
Yeah,
but yeah, I remember that too. You were literally just a very young kid.
Yeah, I was chomping at the bit to get out of being a captive
Farmers,
agent.
right?
For sure.
You were
Yeah, I
farmers?
was a farmer's
Okay.
agent for 5 years.
Right
out of school. Yeah,
And how was that 5 years?
It was good. You know, it's I can't imagine just sort of jumping into Premier. Not that you guys don't, provide support, but when you're a captive, they like have meetings that you go to every day to teach you the business. And, not having had any sales experience and certainly no insurance experience, I, kind of needed that time to learn the biz. But it got to the point where, you're selling one and losing two. And I was a young guy, like you said. So if I'm going to be doing this for a career, you got to make sure that you're setting yourself up with the best system.
Yeah,
So
I always tell young kids, they'll call me up at 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 and say, hey, Sean, I saw your podcast. Should I go in? I want to go independent. Should I go independent? I'm like, time out. Yeah. Go captive.
Do that.
Please go captive. Learn whatever it is they teach you, and then call me up in 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years.
Totally.
And
it's a good way to go.
You might respect me a little bit more if you go that route.
Yeah. That being said, I spent 5 years at Farmers, and I wish it was only 3. I think about if I'd had an extra couple of years as an independent agent where I'd be at right now. But hey, that's the past.
All right, cool. So tell the world who you are. Who the heck is Chris Long?
Yeah, my name's Chris.
Colorado native?
No, I grew up in the Boston area.
Okay.
My whole family still lives back there. My parents actually moved to Florida somewhat recently. But I went to school in Tucson, Arizona, at the University of Arizona. Knocked out in the first round of the tournament this year. Not that fun.
Yep.
But, it was a great time, and I just kind of knew that I didn't want to move back to the East Coast after school. I was dating a girl from the West Coast, and we kind of just said, hey, let's pick a place in the middle with a big airport and see what happens. I'd never even been to Colorado aside from a layover.
So you came to Colorado to start a farmer's career?
Sight unseen.
Seriously?
Oh, no. I spent a good 4 or 5 months when I first moved here unemployed.
Here.
Turns out 2008 was not a great time for the employment market.
Yeah.
So
what happened in 2008?
that whole thing. So, I just kind of was bouncing around to interviews and just kind of fell into insurance, just from that. My old district manager at Farmers, he actually grew up in the same town as I grew up in, back in Massachusetts, population 13,000 people.
Crazy.
So it just kind of seemed like it was
meant to be
serendipitous. And they make it sound like you're going to make $250,000 in 2 years or something, which was certainly not the case.
Right.
But, I stuck with it, and I had the advantage of, being, 22.
Yeah.
So didn't have a mortgage or a wife and kids and all that stuff. I was just living in an apartment. So.
Yeah, you could make it work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And you look back on those years fondly, or do you look back on those years and go, what on earth?
I do look back on them fondly because it was a learning experience, when you're just starting out in business and not really know what you're doing, but at the same time committed to doing all the right things to make it successful.
Yeah.
I mean, I would just spend hours in my car. I just had loops that I did. So I would go to all the Colfax, apartment complexes and car dealerships in one. Then I'd go down to Arapahoe, and then I would go do all those car dealerships the next day. And then, out to Aurora. It's just, I was constantly in my car just handing out business cards, bringing donuts to people, and, knocking on doors and all that stuff.
Did that work?
It did, except...
Did your district manager tell you to do that, or did you just go figure that one out?
There's a few ways that you could go about it, and that was one of the things that I did. the weird thing was, because of 2008 and all the mortgage companies going out of business,
right.
I would just pull up a list of mortgage brokers in town, and I would just find their addresses, and I would go there, and then
they weren't there.
Shuttered.
Yeah.
Like, the signs hanging tilted off. Like, yeah. So, it was a learning experience when you try and just get the best bang for your time, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, it taught me a lot.
Well, I'm dying to hear. So I mean, we're jumping way into this. We're going deep into it. Well,
let's go back. Let's get back a little bit to me because I want to talk about my kid.
Great, let's go. So you just had a baby.
Just had a baby. My wife. Well, I didn't. My wife had a baby January 19th of this year.
Your wife's amazing, by the way.
Yeah,
I've met her a few times, and she's incredible.
She's fantastic. She's an awesome mom and great partner, and we're just super, super happy. Cool. So, they always tell you, when you have a kid, you just don't even know what it's like. And you really don't, I love that kid. And it's just awesome that she gets to stay home now.
Is the baby cute? Let's just start there. Because newborns newborns to me always come out and I'm always like, I'm sure this thing will be cute eventually. But,
he actually came out really cute. He had the big cone head and everything, but that went away. And he's got one ear that's like a little elf ear. And
that's
he's
cool.
a super smiley baby. We got really lucky. You hear about kids that are screaming all the time.
Colicky and crap.
Yeah, he's a good sleeper and he's the
best.
He puked on me on the way over here. So
it has a lot to do with the parents, though, because the parents, whatever vibe they're giving the baby puts off back or returns.
Totally.
So
well,
if you put off stress, we're stressed out new parents. Then the baby turns out to be stressed out new baby.
Yeah, we're pretty adventurous. Like when he was 5 days old, we took him up to the mountains. We take him out to restaurants and stuff, and he just hangs out. We take him to the gym and shoot hoops, and he's just sitting in his stroller just hanging out.
Right.
So he's used to a little bit of chaos. So he's pretty relaxed.
Cool. Cool. How has it changed? I mean, it's only been 2 months. It's hard to see how life changes in 2 months. But what has changed in 2 months? What has changed about you?
Well, what's changed about me? Well, just from a work perspective, I have an office that I go to 3 days a week.
Right.
I wasn't doing that for a couple months because you got to, make sure you're being careful. So working from home, it's something I do normally, but I was doing that just for 2 months straight. So you go a little stir crazy doing that. I'm back to the office now, so that feels good. Your priorities really just changed. Not that I was a crazy party animal, but I was, seeing my friends a lot, playing golf a lot, doing all these things, and I still do those, but it's it's not the priority.
Yeah, you tapered it back 20% or something.
Yeah, now it's like Friday night. What are we going to do? I'm like, we're going to stay home. We're going to get a pizza. We're going to hang out with the baby, and that's like the best,
Yeah.
So
it gets cooler when the baby gets like a personality. Like when the baby is like, laughing at you and giggling at you, and then the baby like turns a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old, and you're like, this is my coolest fan on earth. Like, why would I go play golf with guys when I can have my little homie here with me?
Absolutely, yeah. And that turns out real just cool. Being a guy, I just didn't really know about any milestones. Right. And we're talking about something we're going to do in September, and she's like, "Oh, he's going to be like crawling around and starting to try to walk." And I'm like, "That soon?" She's like, "Oh yeah, that's happening like super soon." I'm like, I thought that happened like way down the road, but yeah, he's growing. He's going to be growing up fast, man.
Yeah, it happens quick. Mm-hmm. I got a 16-year-old daughter now, and it's like, well,
how did that happen?
What happened here? That was yesterday. Totally. Literally on my screensaver, like my daughter pops up where she's like a 4-year-old laying in the grass with all of her hair around her. And I look at that picture, I'm like, I thought we were there yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, how did we get to this point where she's talking about boys and dating and driving and all this kind of crap?
Soon enough going to be talking about, ACTs and college.
Sure.
And
that's already happening. So it always blows my mind.
That's crazy.
So enjoy every second of it. That's my only advice.
Definitely. We got a photo stream with both of our families, and it's just that thing's getting updated daily. Yeah. So, yeah.
All right. So, how did you make the jump or let me ask, what was the catalyst from Farmers where you're like, enough's enough? Because that is a gutsy move. That's a moment in time where people, get stuck and go, I can't make the shift. How did you make the shift?
It was tough. Because obviously you work so hard for 5 years to build a book of business, and I'm finally making some money, not great money, but making enough money where I'm like, okay, I'm paying my bills.
Water. Yeah.
I've got some money left over. You know what I mean? So starting from that to zero was definitely tough. I think one thing that really made me make the jump was I always thought that our one thing that we can do is, if God forbid, Farmers Auto Insurance gets super expensive, not that it wasn't already,
right.
we can rewrite them to Bristol West because that's a farmer's company.
Right.
So they did two things. One, they said that you can't use Farmers as prior insurance anymore if you switch them to Bristol West. And two, Bristol West is also being sold by independent agents, and independent agents were getting a higher commission percentage than farmers agents were, and it's a farmers company. So I was like, you know what?
I got to go.
Out. Like, they obviously don't have my best interest in mind, so I'm just leaving. So, you know, it was tough. But
did you have like any friends or like personal board of directors that was like, let me tell you what life's like as an independent agent? Like, did you poke at that at all?
Yeah.
Or did you just go, yeah, I'm out. I'm going cold turkey. I'm out of here.
Yeah. So Josh Martin, actually.
Okay. Oh, no. You didn't take his advice.
I did, yeah. He always refers to it as the dark side. And I was like, well, it seems like you're doing really well, so I don't know how dark side it is.
No, it's all make-believe.
Yeah, totally. He was actually our president of our class at Farmers University when we went out in LA, and that's where I met him. And yeah, he left, I think it was at least a couple of years before I decided to make the jump. But yeah, I went out to Parker, to his office, and just like, he showed me Easy Links and showed me like the rating system and how everything works. And I was like, man, this is just the way to go. So that was a big one. Then I went before and I met with Paul Doherty, who
good guy,
an All-State agent, great guy.
Mr. Doherty.
Doherty, yes. And he, you know, I went to his office over on Broadway, and he told me just how much better it was in the
He was a
independent
farmer's
world.
guy too, right?
I think he was an All-State agent.
Oh, yeah, he was an All-State agent.
Yeah.
That's official.
So he, you know, just told me that it was a much better way to go, and it just, you know, the writing was on the wall. Farmers was increasing even more rates, and they were already the most expensive deal in town. Yeah. And just the way the insurance industry, if you watch any insurance commercial, the way they market each other, save 15%. Average customer saves $400 a year by switching. It's like, insurance isn't a total commodity, but they market themselves that way. So anyone with half a brain knows that if you're selling the most expensive commodity, you're probably not going to do very well in the long term. So just had to had to make the switch. Just had to do it.
Yeah. What would you tell your friends that are still there? Do you still have friends there?
You
do you got buddies where you're like, guys, what are you doing?
So there's one agent that used to work in my office, and she now is a producer for me. She's you know, does mortgages and stuff, so she's pretty part time. And then two other guys that I knew that were in my district, they made the switch to
some time ago
after me, but they made the switch as well. And they had bigger agencies than I did, but when I left, so you know, they had to do that.
So do you have any friends still back there?
I don't know anybody.
So what would you tell a captive agent who's been there 3-4 years and they're banging their head on the desk going, should I, shouldn't I? I don't have the guts to do it. What do I do?
I would just say
what advice would you give them?
You know, and everybody's situation's different. I understand people like,
I had 3 kids by the time I was 27. So it's like, this is not working out. I can't just be
I've got a mortgage. I've got 3 kids. I can't just go without a paycheck.
Yeah, right.
And because, you know, I don't know what it is with other carriers, but most companies like Farmers had a 1-year no compete. So it's not like you can just call all your customers and be like, hey, guess what? I got you something better. So, you know, everyone's situation's different, but I would say, you know, if this is what you're really planning on doing for the long term, if you want to be in the insurance industry until you retire, you owe it to yourself to set yourself up, you know, the best way that you can. And that's being an independent agent. You just have to do it.
Yeah, I hear
it's not fun. It's not fun.
The switch is not fun. Yeah.
No.
You know, it's interesting. I hear a lot of people go, "Well, once you catch a wave, you ride that wave till the wave's over, right?"
Yeah.
And that's one philosophy. But it's kind of like, well, if you catch a crappy wave, maybe you get off the wave and go find yourself a bigger, better wave to ride.
And also, like, you know, if have been a captive agent and you're doing okay for the last few years, you probably have some good marketing systems in place already. You probably have relationships with mortgage people, relationships with realtors, and maybe, you know, they're referring you, but not as much because they know that every time they referred you, you're coming back with this ridiculously high rate.
You're not the winner.
Yeah, but now you can come back to them and just be like, hey, here's what I'm doing. I made a switch. I'm going to be way more competitive.
Yeah.
And, you know, go about it that way. It's not like you're starting from zero. It's not like it's the first day in the insurance industry and you're just learning the ropes and learning what medical payments coverage means on a car insurance policy. Like, you've got a good base.
Right.
So, you know, it's not as scary as it might be, but it is still, it's going to be an adjustment, of course.
I got a good story about Josh Martin. You want to hear it?
Yeah, I'd love to.
We took agents down to Cancun one time, and Josh came with us. Awesome. And Josh is missing a leg, right? Yeah. So at one night for
shark attack, right?
It was a shark attack. Yeah, it happened in Cancun. No, so one night they're doing a pirate contest.
Okay.
And he's like,
that's not fair.
And he's like,
he's got the beard too.
With his appropriate language, with the beard, with his appropriate Josh-isms. He's like, I'm winning this.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, all I have to do is take my leg off and go, arr! And he's like, I win. He's like, I just win, you know, That's a really solid point. Although he was in the pool and I think he had his leg off, I think pretty much, but he starts swimming in the pool. He's just got such a great personality, totally. and has embraced that life so well. And he's like going, Lieutenant Dan, Lieutenant Dan, while he's swimming around in the pool. I'm like, this is so irreverent, but so beautiful at the same
awesome.
time.
Yeah,
so.
Josh's a crack up. I haven't seen him in a while. I know you guys got to throw another premiere event so we can all get together.
We actually are planning on throwing one at the end of this year. So I think we'll get everybody back together, like the top 20 performers or something.
Yeah, I still have my sword. That's mounted right above my my office. Just right
that's
there.
Good. Do you ever pull it off the wall and like swing it around?
Oh yeah, when I first got it, my friends and I would lob melons up to each other and hit it, and then I bent it a little bit. I was like, okay, no more. I like this thing too much.
Josh, I think actually grinded down the edge and like made it sharp and like actually made it something. So it's incredibly dull, but you can run your hand up and down the edge of the sword. But I think he changed his to be a little bit more lethal.
Badass. If it wasn't hanging right above my head on kind of a iffy bracket, then I would probably want to sharpen it up a little bit.
Okay, so how's independent life? So that great, you just kind of defined captive life for us. What happened when you went independent, and tell me about that life.
I got off to a pretty good start. Because like I said, I had a lot of those
leads or those lead centers
sources,
of influence.
Yeah, I was in a BNI group, so I got to stay in the BNI group.
What are your thoughts on BNI?
BNI was awesome.
Some people swear by it. So what are your thoughts?
I needed it when I first started out because, not being from Colorado, first of all, I didn't know anybody.
Yeah,
it's not like, because, when you start out, you sell to your friends and family and things like that. Guess what? I didn't have any of those. So I really did need to meet people. So I say all the time, if I wasn't in that BNI group for the first few years, that I probably wouldn't be in insurance anymore. So that was really helpful. I'm not in it anymore. I haven't been for a long time. And the reason is because it sort of did its job. I got to the point where I was so busy and had so much business coming in that I didn't even have time to go once a week for an hour or go and meet people for coffee just to talk about business and stuff. So, for someone starting out, I think it's a great option. It's tough to get into because most every BNI group has an insurance person already. But, if you can, or if you can start an agency or start a group with other people,
cool.
Way to go.
So how did it go? I mean,
it's
first couple of years we're like, wow, this is freaking amazing.
I actually kind of hit the ground running a little more than I thought I was going to. Just because, I had a lot of people that I wasn't able to help, and, they weren't farmers' customers, so I wasn't, violating anything. Right. So, I followed up with them, and then, I was closing a lot more because, it turns out when your rates are really high, you sell nothing, and you make 0% commission on policies you don't sell.
Is that how that works?
My conversion ratio with farmers was like, I don't know, like
5%,
25, something like that percent. Whatever. And then it was going up to, 75% all of a sudden. So, I did pretty well right off the bat.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of kept hitting it. I got pretty lucky for some reason when I started out with Premier. Like, you Google just like Denver insurance broker, and there's like a State Farm agent, and then like a Geico ad, and then that was like it. So I started out really hitting the SEO and getting my website out there, and started getting a lot of business through the internet, which was super helpful.
Did you know how to do that, or did you hire a third-party vendor?
I hired a company to do that. Yeah, I still have a company that does that for me, just because that's not really my
thing.
No, but super important.
And then eventually, like, you start getting all your leads from mortgage lenders, I think. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
I wouldn't say all of them, but a good portion of them. And, we're also very fortunate to be in the market that we're in at that point. 100%. Like, so many people moving here, 100%. So much investment.
We legalize marijuana. Everybody's coming.
So everyone's coming here. So people are buying houses. They're building, left and right. So, it's not like we're in Detroit at that time where people are mass exodus, get me the hell out of here.
Then there's some hailstorms and rates are just climbing and climbing and climbing. You're going, geez Louise, this is working.
Yeah. I mean, rates are going up and up. Everybody has an insurance bill.
Yeah.
Nobody's really super happy about paying it. So they're open to the conversation. So, as long as you're getting out and running enough quotes and talking to enough people, it kind of just works itself out. And we're very lucky to be insurance agents in Colorado.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
By a ton. You go.
Absolutely.
I'm licensed in a few other states. I went and did an auto policy in New Mexico the other day because the guy was moving down there. He was paying $1,600 a year here. Same coverage down there was $500. So it's like, how could you possibly make it as an insurance agent?
Same with the house too. And like in Utah, a home is $400.
Yeah.
$450. And I'm going,
and here it's $2,000.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
so exactly. Like, we're in a pretty spectacular situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so I want to kind of get to the mortgage lender thing though.
Yeah.
So I think you get a lot of leads from mortgage lenders. I might or might not be correct.
Yeah.
But
It's been slow.
Rates have been
recently with
climbing.
that.
You know, the Fed keeps taking increases.
Yep.
So my question is how have you had to adapt? And maybe you haven't had to adapt. Maybe you're like, Sean, you're mistaken. I'm not actually getting all that many at-bats a month from mortgage lenders. But
I'd say
walk me through that. Just
the majority of my business doesn't come from mortgage brokers
Okay.
anymore. And it's not necessarily because the housing market slowed down because of the rate increases and whatnot. But one thing that I do in order to put myself in front of mortgage brokers, I don't drive around and go to their offices anymore. Who has time for that?
Yeah, right.
I do every time anybody buys an insurance policy from me because they're getting a new house and they're working with a lender that didn't refer me to them. It's just like their own lender. Yeah. You know, a week later after the closing, I follow up with an email and just say, hey, you know, it was a pleasure working with you, albeit briefly, on John Smith's home purchase. Just so you know, I'm a broker. We represent a bunch of different companies, which means we have great rates and we can also place risks like homes with wood roofs or, you know, whatever. Yeah. Homes in the mountains, things like that. So, you know, that doesn't always work. A lot of times they'll just not send an email back or they'll send back, delete. I'll keep you in mind. Yeah. But, you know, I've gotten a few people that just use me now from that. So that's a good way to go about it. Just being on top of your game and, you know, being quick and working with mortgage people. If they're like, you know, we need it to be $1,500 a year, then being like, okay, I can make it $1,500 a year. But then a week after closing, I'm going to call the customer and say, hey, by the way, we've got you at a $5,000 deductible. Right. You might want to lower that.
2% wind hail deductible. Exactly. We need to fix this.
Yeah, so just being flexible with them, being quick, that's the most important thing, is just being fast. I hear all the time, I don't know what it is, where, you know, someone will be like, well, I requested a quote for my new house from my State Farm agent. That was 3 days ago, and I haven't heard back from him. It's like, mind-blowing.
What? I do it in 30 minutes.
Like, I can't sleep if I have quotes to do at the end of the day, right? So, you know, just being fast and reliable, man.
Okay, cool. Let's go. So I keep flirting around with it, but tell us about your agency. So who works at your agency?
Yeah,
you don't have to tell us how big your agency is.
Yeah, so
just tell us about your agency. Processes, no processes.
Yeah.
Work from home, not work from home. Dog comes with you to work, you know, stuff. Tell us about your agency in general.
Totally. So Longevity Insurance Brokers. It's obviously a play on my last name, which is long.
Yep.
I didn't know what I was going to call my agency, and we were all sitting at a Mexican restaurant down here with some of the old farmers people, and I told them all I was leaving, and then this former agent, she was like, Longevity. I was like, bam, got it, done.
Two margaritas in, and we're already got it figured out.
I know, isn't that crazy? Just a little liquid gets you going.
Yeah.
I have a WeWork office over in Union Station. I work there 2 or 3 days a week, and then I work at home normally Mondays because it's like, Monday, I don't have to go anywhere, and then Friday, it's like, it's the end of the week. Friday, I'm staying home. Right. I worked probably my first 7 years just by myself. So at Farmers, they're like, you need to staff up. And I had a couple of different staff people when I was working at Farmers with this teeny little agency not making any money already. So I was like, why? I can do all this. Like, I don't mind working. So I probably held on working by myself a little longer.
I would argue you did.
But it got to the point where I was like,
you got big and you had a lot of written premium all being managed by one guy. And I was like, this is going to be crazy to watch this.
It got to the point where I was like, I'm stressed out. Yeah. You know, like just the amount of time I was spending updating mortgage companies on home insurance policies a week was like ridiculous.
Right. So, but I do want to just reiterate, you were managing a big book of business and a lot of written premium by yourself.
I think I was at like 7 million still working just by myself.
Yeah. Which is, that's crazy.
Ridiculous. So, so I hired my assistant, Erin. I think her 3-year anniversary was like a couple months ago. Okay. She's awesome. She used to work at a life insurance agency down here, and she lives sort of in North Denver, so she was doing this awful commute all the time. Yeah. So she's really, happy to be switching, even though it's not life insurance anymore, just doing personal lines. So she's great. She, does all of my administrative stuff, all of the, changing out lien holders and mortgages and things like that.
Was it hard to bring her on board and kind of relinquish some control, or was that a piece of cake for you?
That was part of the reason that I didn't do it for such a long time.
You were terrified of that step.
No one's going to ever do anything as well as you can do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, well, I'm already so busy that now I'm going to have to take time out of that already busy schedule to train somebody. And it's just like, but then,
And what if she doesn't stay with me and I waste all that time? Yeah,
exactly. And then you realize, too, that, a lot of the stuff that you need an assistant or someone to do, a lot of the stuff we do is like data entry.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Just like, it's not like the most difficult thing to train on. So, I brought her on. She was great. Pretty much right off the bat. Yeah. It's freed me up, and I was like, why didn't I do this 2 years ago? So, eventually so it's just me and her. Mm-hmm. I'm going to hire somebody else probably to do quoting here in the next year or so. Yeah. Just because that's a re-quoting and things like that. That's a lot.
Like you said, you can't go to bed at night knowing you got 5 of them.
Yes, exactly. So, she's great. We do, as far as like my agency
is concerned. So like VA, will you hire a VA from the other side of the world to do it for you, or will you just say, no, I'd prefer them sitting at my desk or at the office, or what will you do?
That's a good question. I'm not quite that far in the process yet, but I do know that I'm very particular about the way that things are handled. Done. Yeah, so I probably would want to hire somebody local, but obviously I understand that comes with a lot.
Sure.
It's a lot more expensive.
Sure.
But I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. But as far as my agency is concerned, we do just personal lines. Okay. Like we don't do, I know when I started out, I was like, I'm going to do life and health and commercial and this and that and the other thing. Yeah. And for sure, some people, I'm sure that works for them. But for me, I just decided, I would be more effective and it would be a better use of my time by just sort of specializing in one thing.
Yeah.
And for me, just doing personal lines is what I know. And it's just easier, to do a $2,000 a year car policy and a $2,000 a year home policy, $4,000 in premium is infinitely easier.
At 15%, that's $600, and boom, 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 boom. Let's knock out 10 of those a day.
Doing accord forms and waiting for underwriters to come back and all that stuff. So I do have a commercial agent that I refer folks to, and he does a good job. But we're just strictly on that. Another thing that I kind of do is we do almost everything through email. Yeah, like almost all of it. Well, of course, if people want to talk on the phone, we'll talk on the phone to them. But there's a couple reasons behind that. I'm sure that any insurance agent has gotten caught on the phone with somebody for 45 minutes, and all of a sudden it's lunchtime, and you're like, "What happened to my day?" Right. That terrifies me. So, and then also just because we have so many customers and there's so many moving parts, and I just need to have everything in writing. A, because so I don't miss anything, and B, also from an errors and omission standpoint, like when someone goes, "Oh, I told you I wanted rental car insurance," and then you go back, email, I offered it to you, you said no. Boom.
Right.
Just have to do it. So we do almost everything through email. Let's see what else about my agency.
Dog comes to work with you.
Dog comes to work with me every day. Yep, he's getting old, a little long in the tooth. That guy, he's 11, but comes with me every day.
It's not that old, right?
For a dog,
is that old
for a dog?
I thought dogs went to like 16.
Well, he's like 100 pounds, so the bigger the dog, typically.
Yeah. Big dogs go short, right? Yeah. Big dogs are like 8 to 10, right?
Yeah, something like that. We've got 2 massive dogs. We've got a lab shepherd. He's like 105 pounds, and we have an Akita who's beautiful. People like pull over on the side of the street and go, "What kind of dog is that?" Yeah. He's like 130. So
how have the dogs adjusted to the baby?
They're, I knew that the lab wouldn't care. Yeah. And I knew that the Akita would be super into him. So exactly like I thought. He's just like, "Oh, let me see you.
Let me lick you. Let me be a part of this process. You're changing a diaper. Can I help?"
Yeah, like I had him just, on his mat the other day. I ran to the bathroom real quick. I came back and the dog was just licking his face. I'm like, that's not good. You can't be doing that.
It's not bad either.
I see the stuff you eat when we're on walks. Like, that's not okay. So,
by the way, when you get to the next kid or the, craziness, third kid or whatever, like by the time the third one comes around, it's just like, let the dog lick the baby's face. It doesn't matter. Let the dog change the diaper. It doesn't matter.
That's all. That's what they say. The first one, you have gloves on and you're handling them.
By the time the third one comes, they're screaming bloody murder. There's blood everywhere, and you're like, well, this will be fine. Like, let's just take it easy. Nobody's gonna die.
Yeah, totally. Well, I'm 37, so you're a little late in the game. Maybe to have 3, but definitely thinking 2. Sure, for sure. Because you want some for him to play with. Yeah. That, and if he doesn't make it to the NFL, maybe the next kid will. Yeah. We're thinking that he's going to be a kicker. That's what we're going for.
I was going to say.
He kicks a lot, and, maybe kicker. He's probably not going to be a, linebacker because I'm not all that big, and neither is my wife. So.
You are a Patriots fan, right?
I am a Patriots fan, yes. We had a pretty good run there for a while, not looking so hot recently.
But you got to enjoy the fact that the Broncos are struggling, and as a Patriots fan in Denver.
Yeah, I don't have any hatred for the Broncos.
Yeah.
It's more the Colts and the Jets that are the teams that I really dislike. But it's crazy. I thought that Russell Wilson was going to come in and be Russell Wilson, but it was his first year with a new coach, so hey, maybe he'll come back and be the Russ of old. But who knows? I just hope they trade Jared Judy to the Patriots because he's awesome. We'll see. They're talking about it.
All right, let's. What's your funniest story in insurance?
Oh man,
so
I had
hilarious.
Really,
somebody is not in the insurance industry right now, and they think insurance sucks, and they're going, "There's no chance I'll ever join the insurance industry." Yeah. And this one story you're going to tell is going to make that person go, "I got to join the insurance industry." That's freaking hilarious. So this is that story.
Oh man, okay.
The funniest thing that's ever happened.
So last year, I was doing a home quote for this guy, and I was on the phone with him.
Okay.
And I was asking him about the type of roof that he has on his house, and he's like, I think it might be concrete tile, but it might be asphalt shingle. You know what? Let me go and just look outside real quick. And I'm like, okay. And then something just dawned on me, and I looked at the address because I was looking it up, and I was like, oh my God, this guy lives on my block. So he's like, okay, I'm outside. So I open my door, and the guy lives directly across the street from me.
Right.
And I'm like, do I go over there? Is that weird? And I was like, whatever, I'm going. So I just walked across the street.
Turns out I'm your new agent.
I was like, Gary? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, also on the phone. So he was hearing me while I was talking and also through the phone. And he goes, I'm Chris. And he was like, no way. That's so that was pretty wild.
That's actually pretty funny.
And then, I've had a beer with him, and, talked about his roof, obviously. Did his insurance, which is great.
Right.
So, it's, I'd say, for new agents coming in, something that's cool about insurance is that, you're in your community. You know what I mean? Like, I insure a lot of people that live, right in my neighborhood.
Within
and I
walking
drive
distance.
by their house and, take a look and, see their roof and stuff like that. So,
that's funny.
That's a cool thing.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
What do your friends think of you being in the insurance industry? Are they like, Chris, you're an insurance loser, bro? Or are they like, no, clearly you're successful, so who cares how?
No.
Who cares how you make your money? You're clearly making your money, and I respect it.
Yeah, no, I think my friends I insure all of them.
Sure.
If they talk too much, I'm just going to cancel their coverage and not tell them.
You're like, fine, you get a new agent.
Yeah. No, I've been running my own business basically since I was out of college.
Right.
You know what I mean? So.
And they see that and they're like, that's very appealing.
Pretty cool. Yeah. Because, my friends are awesome, successful guys.
Yeah,
but, they all have bosses, and that comes with its own challenges. And, get laid off or, have, they are owed a raise and haven't gotten that raise, even though they work really hard.
Or the boss is busting their, chops about this, that, or the other thing.
Exactly. And I've got a boss, but it's me. He's kind of a jerk. But, so, they're happy for me because we're doing really well and stuff. And I pick up bar tabs all the time. So
it's funny because my friends are always like, man, Sean, insurance is so dorky. And I'm like, what happened? And I'm like, I don't know.
You won't
happened.
think insurance is dorky when you got a flood in your basement.
Yeah, I'm like, exactly. Like,
I know.
Yeah, it may be dorky, but I got a podcast.
Yeah, totally. Well, I'm going through all my friends and thinking if they do anything significantly more interesting than what I do, and
the answer is no.
One that comes up, no.
Yeah, they're all doing something equally as dorky.
Yeah. They're paying the bills, but it's not like they're they're not out there flying for NASA or anything like that.
Or CIA agents. Where
no. Wow. And if they were, they probably wouldn't tell me. I guess, but.
All right, coolest guy you know in the insurance industry.
Man, we were just talking about Josh.
Josh is a pretty
He's
cool
hilarious,
guy.
yeah.
Josh is a pretty cool
And he's finagled it where somehow he plays golf every Friday, which I don't know how that's possible, but he gets it done, which
I bet you he does it more frequently than that, actually.
Yeah, Steve Eller, same thing. He says he goes and plays golf all the time.
Steve plays a lot of golf.
Because he's well staffed up.
Yeah.
I really respect Steve. I mean, I think it's so cool how
Steve's a smart guy.
Yeah, multiple, agencies, multiple locations, multiple staff.
Smart, cool guy.
He was talking to me about his, the sales goals that they have every month that they typically hit, which I thought were phenomenal. Yeah. So, he does a great job. He's somebody that I definitely respect in the industry.
Culturally, do you have all that stuff, or do you talk to Steve and go, wow, that's crazy. I don't do that to myself.
It's weird, insurance it's kind of like a lonely business in some ways, because it's me and my assistant.
Right.
And then I work from home half the time, so I don't even see her.
Right.
So, I don't really talk to a ton of other insurance agents, but, in the times that you guys put on, like, I know that we had a meeting with a bunch of the agents from around the country the other day, and I thought that was awesome, just getting to hear talk shop, which you don't get to do very often, and hear what other people are doing and try and implement that in your own agency. And
I guess that's my question, though, is like, when you do get the chance to talk shop, do you listen to them and be like, no, never doing that in my agency? Or do you listen to them and go, that's a good idea. I might want to start thinking about that.
When I was here for that last meeting, and I'm a jerk for not remembering this agent's name, but he put me on to this program that I use religiously now. So that was awesome. I mean, you have been doing it for a long time and you feel like you know everything. It's important to hear what other people are doing.
And not be arrogant enough to be like, I'm not doing anything.
Well, like,
I'm killing it.
I'm kicking ass.
Like, where you have to go, what are you doing? Because that's interesting. Maybe I could do this
just better. Like, and then when we were up in Blackhawk, I got another really good bit of advice from a different agent, and I do that all the time now, There's a few things that you just aren't going to come up with yourself.
Right.
You just got to hear what other people are doing. So super helpful. That's why I hope we can have a
the answer's not Josh Martin, right? That's not the answer.
Steve too.
Yeah.
You have to understand, I know, aside from me, I know 2 other insurance agents. So.
Oh, wow. So, okay, so those two got mentioned.
Those guys are
both cool guys, both good guys.
They're great dudes.
What makes insurance foxy to you?
Foxy, man. I mean,
at our house, by the way, as our kids start getting older, we didn't say sexy, we said foxy.
Okay.
So we knocked sexy out, we brought foxy in. Don't get me wrong, we still say sexy.
I'd say that the cool thing about insurance is that, it's one of those industries where no matter how bad things are, everybody still has to have it.
Yep.
As a broker, you're providing the most value by being able to offer other companies and reshop them if their rates go up through the roof or whatever.
Sure.
So, we had our best month in 10 years, July 2020. So just middle of COVID.
Yeah.
Whereas, a lot of people were getting laid off.
Right. They're having the worst year of their life, and you're going,
and I'm just like,
this is amazing.
Exactly. And, it's one of those things where I know that I'm going to be okay. It's not like we're not going to go, the way of the travel agent.
Yeah, something's not going to break
soon.
anytime soon.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like the demand for our products ever going to go away.
Right.
So, I'd say that's probably the most exciting thing. That, and you can talk to anybody about insurance.
Sure.
Not everybody, if you're selling a Mercedes, like the Mercedes dealership across the street, is going to want a Mercedes.
Right.
But everybody has an insurance.
Right.
So, you can talk to pretty much anybody about it. You meet all sorts of people and come across. I mean, we have our spectrum of customers. We have, from every background
walk
imaginably.
Of life,
every age bracket, everybody. So, that's a cool thing about it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, thoughts on this hard market? The insurance industry's kind of shifted in the last 18 months. How has it impacted you? Like you mentioned, lots of reshops. I imagine it's created a lot more busy work for you.
Oh, my God.
How has it impacted your customers? How has it impacted you and your agency?
It's difficult, of course, when, you have a customer that's been with you for a while and they're just catching a 40-50% increase on their home insurance and they've done nothing. They haven't had any claims. Nothing. Of
their
course,
credit score hasn't changed.
Nope,
Everything's
nothing.
the same.
So there are a few things that we do for that. So every week, Tuesday, we run the retention report. So I basically we see everybody's renewals for 30 to 45 days out. If their rates have increased more than 20%, we automatically requote them. One thing that we do, which I'm sure...
You automatically touch base with them and say, I will requote if you ask me to, or you just automatically requote them?
Requote them.
Okay.
So, first what we do is... Certain carriers, you can ask them to rescore the policy, so they basically just run their credit again. And, and sometimes that really works and helps just bring it down. And if that brings it down enough where it's not more than 20%, typically we'll just let it go.
Okay.
If it's more than 20% and the rescore didn't help, then we requote them. Which sometimes it's a lot of busy work, but you're doing what's right by the customer.
Right.
And a lot of times your new business commission's higher than a renewal commission, so it's like you can kind of justify it that way.
Yeah.
But one thing that we also do is because that is a lot of work. Is if we do find a different company for somebody that's less expensive and we switch them over, automatically the next month we send them an email being like, hey, so like one of the major things that we do for our customers is proactively requote them with other carriers.
Right.
I'm so happy that we could switch you from company A to company B and
Yeah,
save you X dollars a year.
Yeah.
Because we do this and it takes up so much of our time, we rely on our customers to refer us to their friends and family.
Yeah.
So who do you know? Like, we're very upfront about it.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not just passively asking for referrals. I ask for referrals every time I sell something, every time I don't sell something, every time I rewrite something. Who do you know? Friend, family
I just
member,
put in
coworker,
work and labor to make you happy.
I could help with a quote. Yeah. Pay it, pay me back.
Yeah.
And I feel as though, it's not being, I'm not imposing on them because they're benefiting from my services, and whoever they refer to me is going to benefit from my service as well, most likely.
Right.
So that's one way that we're handling it.
Yeah. How else has it been painful for you outside of just creating a ton of freaking busy work for your agency?
The requote thing is just, it's a lot.
It's got to be painful.
Yeah, it's brutal. But,
how are you communicating it to your customers? Like, do you write a big mass email that says, it's a hard market, and let me explain to you how much the insurance industry lost last year in personal lines, and the fire that happened in Boulder, this is impacting blah, 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 blah. Like, do you write these big, beautiful communications?
So one thing that I do, because we do almost all of our business through email, and because a lot of the same questions come up from people, they ask you the same question over and over again. We just have email templates for everything.
Cut, paste.
Like, why did my home insurance go up?
Cut, paste.
Boom, Your insurance is increasing. Insurance companies are increasing your coverage in order to keep pace with inflation and the rising cost of building materials. They're increasing your policy by X number of dollars. You fill in the blank at renewal just to keep pace.
Please review this Travelers document that explains why the increases are happening.
Travelers has a document that says why, auto rates have gone up last year and home rates. And, it's still a hard pill to swallow for people, but at least you're not just saying because it did. That's just because that's what insurance does. It goes up. Because, So you got to give them some sort of reason. And if they leave, if they can find a better option. I mean, I ask people to switch to me every day because I found them a less expensive insurance policy, right? They go to a different company, coverages are the same, less expensive.
See ya.
I'll call you next year at renewal. There's nothing you can do about it. And then we follow up with them every year at renewal until one of us dies. Seriously.
So if you lose a customer, you have a process in place to go touch that customer 60 days before his renewal with Amica, and you're going to say, hey, I'm not sure if things are still good at Amica, but I sure would like to get you back.
Absolutely. Just say, hey, I know that your policy's coming up for renewal on X date.
And you have that pre-written email.
Oh,
just
we
cut,
have
paste,
every
cut, paste.
Like, we just send out form emails all day long.
Yeah, good.
And they're effective. We tweak them if we need to, but
highlight the yellow places that need to be inputted.
So we do a lot of that, and with our follow-up, I'd say that's probably one of the most important things we do is follow up. We send that email, and then if we don't get a response back, then a week later we send them that email again and a text message. And then if a week after that we send them an email, a text message, and we call them. We just
you just get
always following up. We got to do it.
Do you use any technology to do that stuff, or is it like a very manual process?
So I'm sure that there's technology out there that would make my life.
I'm sure. Yeah, there is.
My assistant does it, so that's just kind of part of
so
what
if
she
she
does.
wants to own it the way she wants to own it, you're fine with that.
Exactly.
And if it's manual, it's manual. If it's automated, it's automated.
Totally. Yeah. So down the road, I'd probably be open to taking a look at some more automation on that. But if somebody emails me back right away, then I just close the reminder, and I'm sure again you could probably do that through a program as well. But for now, we do it manually. It doesn't seem to be it's not like a huge time waster.
Right.
I think it's important. So we do it. One piece of technology, if we're talking about technology that we use, is Canopy.
Yes, good. I wanted to talk about this.
That is a game changer.
It basically comes up on every single podcast. So let's talk about it for a little bit.
Have to do it. Okay. So Canopy,
tell me what it is as if I had no idea.
So essentially, I can... So
let me ask this. Let's back up. Let's back up. When did you find it?
When we had this meeting at Premier the last time.
Somebody said Canopy.
Yes, he said, "Do you?" I was like, "I've never heard of this before." It was not Charles.
Okay, it was not Charles McDade.
I'm gonna.
It doesn't matter.
Forgetting his name, but
it's okay.
So essentially, before we would have a questionnaire that we would send out, and then say we'd like copies of your declarations pages. If you can't find them, then we just have a bunch of other questions about your cars and all this stuff. Right? And Canopy, what it does is you just embed a link into the email, or you can send them a link via text message. You can have them scan a QR code. Like, they can do anything. And all that they do is it opens up. It says, which insurance company are you with? They go, State Farm. Okay, click on State Farm. They click State Farm. It takes them to a login page. Right. And assuming they have
State Farm login page.
Yeah, assuming that they have an online account for their insurance, which most people do.
Sure.
They just enter their login information, and then boom, the system just takes their declarations pages from the State Farm website and sends them straight to your email. Wow. So I can't even imagine, before I started doing this, how many times I would quote somebody and they'd go, oh yeah, you're $400 more per year. Not interested. Right. They're just like, okay, well, are the coverages the same? And they're just like, I don't know, but it's $400 more per year.
Right.
So now you can go in and they'll say you're $400 more per year, and you go, yeah, but I'm looking at your declarations page. You have a 2% wind and hail deductible. Right. That means that if a hailstorm comes through, which we live in Colorado, it's going to happen. You're going to be out of pocket $10,000.
Right. Right.
Whereas here it's $2,500.
Right.
They're like, oh my God, I didn't notice that. It's like, well, you're not an insurance broker.
You
probably wouldn't know that, right? So that has really changed the game. And it's actually I use it sort of as like a weeding out process too. Yeah. Like, if somebody says, I want a quote, and then I say,
they don't follow your process.
They're like, yeah, I don't want to give you that. I just want a quote. I'm like,
done.
Can't help it. Because it's going to be the same thing. They're going to be like, well, you're $400 more per year.
Yeah, right.
So I just say, you don't have to do that. I mean, obviously, when they type in their login information, I don't see that. It says it very clearly that this is secure.
Sure.
But I go, okay, well, you can just go online and you can just email me the deck pages if you want. And if they're not willing to do that, then we're just not going to help them.
We're not going to do this relationship.
Got enough going on.
I love that because there are some agents that would be going just heard you say that, and they're going, you're not gonna write that customer. Yeah. You're not gonna bend over backwards to get that $450 in commissions, or that $600.
That's also the person that's going to be the biggest pain in your ass. For the rest of your life. So they're going to be the ones that are changing their billing every month, or are like, what's this charge? And I'm like, remember when you asked me to add this coverage? It's for that. It's going to be that. That's going to be the person. So
it's the difference between the $10 an hour agent behavior to the $300 an hour agent behavior, where you're going, no, I this is my process. If my clients don't obey my process, they're not my clients.
Yeah. And it's mutually beneficial because obviously they should know if they have a 2% wind and hail deductible.
Sure.
And I can't tell them that unless I see their policy. So, that's been a big game changer
for
us.
Here's my question. So Canopy Connect becomes a big game changer for your agency in the last, let's just call it 18 months. It might have been the last 12 months or whatever. But how many customers are willing to fill out the link? What percent would you guess? 90,
I would
70,
say 90.
60, 50? What is it?
So it depends on the person. So if they're older, like 60s
they're
or 70s,
struggle with it.
A lot of times they don't have an online account. So then we just say, we give them every option possible.
Find it in your mail.
If you want to just take a picture of it and text it to us.
Sure.
If they really can't, then we'll ask them over the phone to read off their coverages and stuff. But as far as people that have an online account, I would say probably 90% of people are willing to do it.
So you're sending this Canopy Connect link.
Yeah.
And you're getting 90% of your new customers filling out this link and sending you over your deck
There's
pages.
only a few people that say, because they're concerned about their security, so they don't want to provide their login information.
Or the weird people that are like, I don't want you to know how much I'm paying so that you don't screw me or something. You're
do
that's
that
not my goal anyway.
No, not at all. I tell them very point blank, I'm like, if I can't find you a better option, if I can't find you better coverage for the same price or better price for the same coverage, then I would never ask you to switch in the first place.
Right.
Some people are just difficult. You know what I mean? And it's okay, but they're not going to be my customer.
Yeah, sure.
We've got a lot of customers that need our help, so I don't have time to be going back and forth arguing with you. So, but I'd say that for the most part, people are really upfront about it. It's really cool too, because then they, after they upload their declarations pages, then it gives you the opportunity to put in people's birthdays and driver's license numbers. And, sometimes we'll have a follow-up question or two, because not all declaration pages will say, roof last replaced this year or whatever.
Right.
But it saves an enormous amount of time and really, really helps with our closing ratio too.
It's incredible to me how often Canopy Connect comes up in this conversation.
Yeah, it's
and how many agents are going, everything in my life changed when I started paying $60 a month for Canopy Connect
too.
or whatever the price is.
It's probably somewhere around there. Yeah, it's not very
incredible.
Expensive. Dude, I'm telling you. Like, I just go back and I'm just kicking myself. Like, I know I could have made that sale if I just known what this guy was. Oh, you don't have uninsured motorist coverage. Okay, well, that's like a third of your premium, you know?
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, that's
game changer.
Anyone who's not doing that,
it's time.
Just do it.
It's time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
What other technology have you adopted? So you have EasyLinks for the comparative rater. You have EasyLinks for the management system.
Yep. Love
do you
EasyLinks.
use EasyLinks for your text messaging, or do you not? Or like, what other platforms or technology-wise do you use, if any? Maybe not.
There's really not that many. I use the text. I use the text feature in EasyLinks a lot. I think it's great because a lot of times, it's during the day and people are working and they don't have time to answer an email right away or whatever. So you just shoot them a text and then they give you that information back. And then, we have our phone system, of course, where you call up if you're looking for a quote, press 1. If you're a current customer, press 2. If you're a mortgage company looking to, change a policy, press 3, whatever. Aside from that, I know like Charles, a lot of these guys are super tech savvy and things like that. But, the way that we're doing it, for me, I feel like we're at, the right amount of tech for what we need to do.
Although if Erin, you said her name was, if Erin came to you and said, I'm going crazy.
Yeah.
I've got to automate this work.
Yeah. I mean, if
you'd say, great, just don't break anything. And that's fine with me.
She doesn't seem to be overwhelmed with, the emails or anything like that. But I'd love to, empower her. Of course, everyone wants their employees to be empowered. If they think something can be done better, then have them do it. Have them bring it to your attention. But there hasn't been a situation where that's come up yet. So, not to say that there won't down the road, but
all right. I just want to go back to the hard market. You are incredibly blessed to be in Colorado because the hard market, even though it's a pain in your butt, as it relates to rate increases, there are places in the United States where, like California, where the insurance industry is literally like shuddering under the weight of the changes that are going on. Where agents are like, I'm running out of products very, very fast.
And what is it? So tell me a bit about that, because I've heard it's because like the insurance commissioner is an elected official, so of course they don't want to raise rates because then their voters won't like that, obviously. Is that the main reason?
So it is an elected official. Oftentimes it's used as a launching board into like governorship. And so a lot of times I'll just say this. There's a lot of insurance companies who haven't gotten to take rate increases for like 3, 4, 5, 6 years. So the reason why we're in a hard market is because of inflation.
How do they survive?
Well, that's the point. So we're in this hard market because of inflation, and California is no different. They're seeing all these inflation factors. So let's just say an insurance company has an indicated rate of 35%. They need 35%. They go to the Department of Insurance. I say I need 35% in order to stay actuarially sound here. And they go, okay, well, no.
They don't come back and go, okay, you can do 15%. They just say straight up no.
Yeah. Wow. It's an election year, and so you get the two elected officials saying, "I'm so good for the consumer of California. I didn't let anybody take rate increases." And then the other person who's probably liberal is probably more liberal is going, I would have been more extreme. I would have forced them to take rate decreases or something like that, you know? So you get into a situation where the carriers need rate and they can't get rate. So then carriers start pulling very creative levers to control the flow of business. Well, if we can't be profitable, then we got to start pulling levers to control
like just
the flow of business.
So from like an underwriting perspective, they just tighten up.
Exactly.
Big time.
Like you see like Geico just pull out of the state of California.
That's wild.
And then all the other carriers that stayed are now getting way more business coming in the front door, and they're going, this is really bad. I don't want this
on our books.
We gotta find a way not to get this influx in business because they also want rate, right? So the hard market, my only point is as painful as the hard market is for a Colorado agent is really in this incredibly blessed, beautiful situation where it's like, great, well, at least you're getting rate. At least these carriers aren't pulling out. At least they're not like losing their minds like they are in some other parts of the country.
Totally. It can definitely be frustrating though when you see, a 40% rate increase.
Totally.
It makes you think, it's like, I'm no underwriter. I'm not an actuary.
Sure.
But maybe were underpriced for a really long time, Safeco, on your home insurance policies, and that's now why you're taking 40% rate increases and making me work 20 more hours a week than I was before. You know what I mean?
But
so
at least you still have it. That's my only point.
Yes,
it's like, at least you have like your 5 favorite tools that you use on your tool belt.
Yeah.
At least those tools still exist.
True.
In other states, it'd be like, hey, we got to take 4 of those 5 tools off your tool belt.
Brutal.
And you'd go, oh no, something bad has happened.
Being a broker and having options is your main
is important.
Main weapon. Yeah.
Okay. What do you think agents are doing to win today? And what are you doing to win today? And this kind of goes back to that mortgage conversation. Oh, that's crazy. What do you think you're doing to win at this moment in time? What do you think other winning agents are doing to win?
You know, I think that what agents are really...
I'm going to go turn the light back.
Yeah.
You keep talking.
Okay. There we go. You know, I think that what really successful agents are doing to win is not being sole focused on one marketing type. So like talking about mortgage brokers earlier, you know, that kind of is dried up a little bit because, you know, home sales are so far down and obviously we're so connected to the home market.
Sure.
If that's your only way of getting your name out there and your only way of bringing business in the door, you're probably panicking right now. So, you know, I think that it's a really solid idea to have that, to have some sort of an internet presence. I know that last time we were at this meeting, you know, social media is a huge thing where you just have a lot of followers on Facebook, and even though your posts aren't necessarily about insurance, because who wants to read about insurance posts all the time, you're really getting your name out there. And you know, there's guys that are doing tons of business through Facebook and Instagram and things like that, which is huge. I don't personally, but it's a great way to go. Yeah. You know, having some car dealerships, I mean, that's something that I don't really have in my back pocket as much as I used to, because I'm just not willing to go out there and do all those things. But, you know, just having different avenues of bringing people in. Also being really studious on your cross-selling and asking for referrals. So, you know, every month we go through our list of people, home, no auto, people that have auto, no home. If we don't have a note or an expiration date for them coming up, then we make sure that we get a yes or a no if they want a quote, period.
On the line you're missing.
On the line that we're missing, Every year we do, you know, a umbrella email campaign, people that don't have umbrellas. Put that out there. That's also good for, you know, aspect, because if someone has a huge claim, they go, oh, they never asked me for a referral. So,
I got record. I asked you every year. On the 5th of March, every year.
100%. And then just in referrals too. I know, like, that is just such a huge part of the way that we do business is just asking for referrals, because I don't feel awkward about it, because I feel like I provide like stellar service and a very important service to people too. I mean, insurance bills are one of the biggest expenditures for families every year. And, you know, if I can save somebody 20, 30% on their insurance, that's huge for people. You know? So why wouldn't you want to introduce me to your mom or your neighbor or whoever, right? So, you know, just making sure that people are aware that you're open for business. If you refer someone to me, I'm not going to pressure them into anything. If I can't find them a better option, I would never ask them to switch. That's huge.
It's always incredible to me. Like when I was producing back in college, I would save somebody $1,000 or whatever, or $1,500 or some big chunk of money. And I'd be like, so I just basically saved you enough money so that you and your significant other can go on a cruise. And they're like, this is amazing. You saved me so much money and I'm so in love with you. Like, you're the most amazing person in my life right now. And for an agent to not be like,
by the way,
thank you, but I'm a young starving father, a young starving husband, and I need something from you, a lead or two. Because if you don't give me that, I'll continue to be a young starving father. And these people are like, I've had people like, you saved me $1,500. Can I give you a $50 bill right now? And I'm like, no, don't thank you. No, but what works. I really want is just a lead. And people are so excited to save so much money that it's like, it's not absurd to just make that part of the process.
And if, you know, it's weird because at first it feels uncomfortable because you're like, I'm kind of imposing on somebody.
I don't think so at all. You're riding their wave of excitement.
I know that when I first started doing it, and like that, they hammered us to do that at Farmers, and I felt awkward about it. I was like, it just feels kind of like strained and awkward. But you know, you owe it to yourself, your family, your business. You just have to. So, and if you know somebody isn't able to refer you, you know, because not everybody is. If you have a Facebook page for your business, ask them to write a review for you. You know, reviews are huge. Say, hey, you know, if you don't know of anybody that's able to, that I'm able to help with a quote, that's fine. But if you wouldn't mind just taking a couple minutes, because this is so important for my business and for people finding me on the internet and a sea of insurance agents. If you could just go on my Facebook page, here's the link. Don't make it as easy on as possible. Here's the link. If you could just say a couple words about what it was like to do business with me, I would really appreciate it. You know,
and that's my point. Is like people are so excited that it's like, I will do anything for you. Like, great. I'm not asking for much. I need 5 minutes for you to go post something on my Facebook.
Yeah, it's like, I saved you enough money to go on a cruise, so you can refer me, write me a review, or take me on the cruise. I will go on the cruise with you.
I will do the cruise with you.
Absolutely.
That's funny.
One of the three.
Okay, good. Give us some of your magic sauce. When you're using a mortgage lender, when you were using mortgage lenders, but they were not sending you nearly as much as normal, you know, just give some of our viewers what I just said, by the way, is crap. That all needs to be cut out. It didn't make any sense. My question is what is some of the longevity magic sauce?
It's for mortgage brokers or
for
just
whatever.
In general?
Let's say in general.
All right. Ferocious follow-up.
Ferocious follow-up.
Always asking for referrals.
Okay.
Always doing right by the customer. Because in business, you know, karma is a thing. So not, you know, saying, hey, maybe if I just cut this coverage down, I can save them this much, which will make me less expensive. Just explaining all of their options to them and doing right by them. I also think that, you know, requoting people, as much as it sucks, kind of got to do it
suck.
Because they're going to be really upset in a year if they get a mortgage statement and they go, oh, my insurance went up $1,500 and you didn't say anything to me.
Why did my mortgage go up?
Because you're going to lose them as a customer.
$100 a month.
Everybody knows that, you know, finding a new customer is infinitely harder than just one that you already have. Right. So, you know, just and working hard, man. Like, I just love to work. Like, I work a lot, and I always have. And I was thinking, like, right now I'm kind of in a position where I could hire maybe one or two other people, and I could work less, not very much at all. You know what I mean? Yeah. But then you know, you have a few day off here and there, and you're just like, what would I do with myself if I didn't have a job? Like, what would I do with myself?
Yeah, the baby's cool, but I like working.
Yes, I need that for my sanity. So, you know, just the cool thing about insurance and the cool thing about any sales job really is you get out of it exactly what you put into it. Right? If you're not willing to work the extra hours, if you're not willing to work on a Saturday, ever, you know, I'm not saying I work every Saturday, but some Saturdays I definitely do. You know, then you're not.
Early on you would though, right? I mean, you were taking leads on a Saturdays and Sundays and going, I'm nailing it. Like
I was doing the thing with car dealerships when I started out with farmers, like they call you at 9 o'clock at night on a Saturday and they need a quote right now.
You're going for it.
Even if you're out with your friends, I would bring my laptop and just be like, hey, I need to go in the other room because I got to do a quote real quick.
I need 20 minutes.
It is exactly like what you put into it is what you're going to get out. So if you want to be, you know, mediocre and make, you know, a decent living and pay your bills, but nothing, you know, you can do that. But if you want to really make it, you totally can, but it's going to cost you time. So you just got to go and really put your nose to the grindstone and give it all you got. Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that because I on the PGI Facebook page, I said I'm interviewing a top 10 PGI agent. And I'm going to ask him stuff. And I said, and I can't wait to hear what he has to say, but I bet you anything he'll just say, I just worked really, really hard. Yeah. You know, and
it's true.
And I mean, so it's funny that you're saying it because I'm like, I bet you anything I'm going to say, what's the magic sauce? And he'll say, bust your butt and you'll reap the rewards of it.
I think it was Brian Tracy, who's a famous sales guru. He said, there's no replacement for hard work. Yeah. It's true. Like when you say special sauce, there is no secret. Yeah. There are ways that you can, you know,
pre-written emails, boom.
Yeah, like pre-written emails.
Ask for referrals, ferocious follow-up. These are all good sayings.
There's ways that you can be efficient. Yeah. But there's really no substitute for time spent with your butt in the chair. Yeah. Right. In front of the computer. Right. Yeah. It's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What are you doing to grow right now?
You know,
it sounds to me like we're
kind of just, it's weird. So when you get bigger, it's kind of like the word is out. Sure. So we don't have to go and like, oh, I need to go find all these new marketing avenues and things like that because we just have a pretty large customer base.
Yeah, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It is, yeah. We do a lot of cross-selling. people buy a house but then keep their current house and use it as a rental property.
Yeah.
People refer us to their friends and family. So the word's kind of out. So we are very busy.
Yeah.
So that being said, I'm kind of just sort of going with it, you know, and just doing what we've always done, which seems to be working.
Yeah.
So no new crazy things in the last, 12 months or so. But Canopy, again, just to bring that up, that's probably the biggest change that has come to our agency in the last few years, and it's been huge. So I would say if, any agent watching this, just sign up for it. If you don't like it, then you don't need to use it.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll do it on a month-to-month basis, but I'm sure that it would work.
All right. Yeah. Tough question coming up right here.
Okay.
Favorite carrier and why?
My favorite carrier is and has always been Safeco.
Okay.
They are very easy to work with.
Yeah.
Granted, they've tightened things up a little bit now. They're, asking for letters confirming how many miles people drive per year and when they're, proof of when roofs were last replaced and things like that. But overall, as far as ease of use, I like their quoting system. Whenever we call their service center, they're very responsive. They've always been my favorite. You definitely find sometimes certain carriers will, like you said, with California companies, some of them they're just like trying to tighten it up and like making it hard for you to write business and things like that. Like a certain carrier does, they want to know about what the circumstances behind a comprehensive claim was in order to issue a policy. It has no effect on the rate. They'll always say yes, but they just make it hard on you just because they don't necessarily want that business. Or at least that's the way that it comes across. Safeco's never been like that.
Yeah.
So they're still my top.
Yeah. Interesting. Without naming names, who's your least favorite? Where you're like, this company just doesn't make it good.
Yeah.
Or say the name and we'll just bleep it out. Like whatever.
Well, any insurance agent that's watching this, I'm sure knows who I'm talking about. And it's a company that, they are really strict on things that you wouldn't think matter that much, like how long you've lived at this certain residence or how long you've owned your car. Like who cares about that? And it's a huge rating factor. Like if you've owned your car more than 3 years, it's way less than if you've only owned it for 2. It makes no sense. It's stupid. And then of course there are these, these follow-up phone interviews, which are just not fun because they say, oh, it's for customer retention and we're trying to confirm information and increase the relationship. You're asking baiting questions to try and either disqualify somebody or raise their rate. Right. I'm sorry, they just are. Right. So, and then, there are some carriers that will do that verification thing before they'll even issue a policy. It used to take 2 business days. Now it takes 2 weeks. Yeah. So if that comes up, I just don't even do it anymore. I just won't. So, those are some of the things that when you're thinking that you're in a partnership with a carrier, but at the same time, that they're just kind of doing whatever they can do to make it difficult on you and make ease of doing business with them just non-existent as hard as possible. Yeah. That's when things get frustrating. But overall,
are they doing it as a reaction to the hard market, or did they do it before the hard market too?
I think that one of the carriers that I was
because if a carrier goes,
referring to, they've eased up a little bit.
Yeah.
But last year it was just like 50% of the time we do a policy with this company, it's going to be an issue. Like there's going to be some sort of problem. Wow. So it's one of those things where if they're really being that difficult, you just sort of pivot to a different carrier. But there are certain segments of the consumer base where they're just really competitive, so it's hard to ignore. But you just do the best you can and give feedback when it's even not always asked for. Right. I don't spend a ton of time talking with our reps and things like that, but there are times where I'll have to call in one of them to help me with something if underwriting is being ridiculous or it's taking forever to get a policy change made because it's under underwriting review or whatever. But it's important to give that feedback, or else nothing's going to change.
So, what do you think? We'll just kind of ride this conversation out just a smidge, and we're coming to an end pretty quickly here. But what do you think carriers need to know? Like, what do they need to hear from agents?
Well, I think that what carriers need to know is twofold. So one, they need to know what the customer experience has been like. Mm-hmm. So, if a customer is really upset because they had to do that phone interview, for instance, let them know that that's a real inconvenience. It's not helping solidify, retention or anything.
Sure.
It's just pissing people off.
Sure.
Letting them know that. Also, what it's like from an agency standpoint.
Yeah.
Say, here are the things that we really like about doing business with you. Here are some of the things that really would be, much better if you could fix it. Then there's like little coverage things where you're like, hey, it would be really cool if you offered a lower comprehensive deductible. But that's all underwriting, and they're not going to change that just because I want them to, right? So those are the main things. And then there's a couple like little tech things. Like I've been having issues with Nationwide running prior insurance reports, and it's just like seems like it's happening too much. So I've brought that to the carrier's attention. Hasn't really done anything yet, but I'd say if you don't say something, then nothing will ever change. So it's worth dropping them a line and letting them know.
Okay. Okay. What percent of the placement equation is determined by rate, and what else plays a part in that equation?
Well, I'd say rate is the main thing that we do.
Okay.
Because I don't personally see, even if there's companies that I kind of like working better, as far as their offerings for the most part and customer service and claims and things like that, I don't really see any big differences between our main carriers that we do home and auto with, Nationwide, Travelers, Safeco.
Yeah.
So normally rate is the driving force for that.
Okay.
If it's a situation where it's like that company I was saying before, where like even though they're the best rate, it's getting it's asking for a verification phone call, or even if it's the best rate, you have roommates, and then they're going to want to exclude them, and all of a sudden that's going to jump the rate. Like then in that situation, we just say, okay, even though they might potentially be the best rate, we're going to probably pivot to a different carrier just because we know it's not going to be a bunch of BS. But yeah, rate is the main one.
Okay, so let's play that out just a little bit, because I'm with you 100%. Let's say, theoretically speaking, rate makes up 70% of the placement equation, right? 70% of, if they're the best rate, 70%, the 70% of the decision's been made, right? But that leaves 30% of the equation to play out.
Yeah.
And I assume like ease of the platform, your interaction with hold times, with the customer service. I mean, this is why you love Safeco, right? Because you love calling up somebody.
They're just easy.
They're easy. They're really great to work with. So it's a piece of cake for you to go, I know this is going to be a positive interaction, post-bind, pre-bind, whatever. I can get answers quickly.
Yeah.
Commissions, I assume, come into play mentally in your head a little bit. So maybe that plays 10% of the equation. I don't even know. I mean, we could hammer it out. We're not going to here, but let's just say rate plays 70% of the equation. There's 30% of the equation left outside of rate. I guess my question is let's just say Safeco, Progressive, Nationwide, and Travelers all come into they come in at the same rate.
Yeah.
You will intentionally push it to, who cares what the company is? Let's call it Safeco because you said you love them.
Yeah.
You'll intentionally push it to Safeco because why?
Well, I'll push it to Safeco because I believe that they're a good carrier. And they're owned by Liberty Mutual, even though they're not Liberty Mutual.
Sure.
So people, a lot of times everyone's heard of Nationwide, everyone's heard of Progressive. Yep. Liberty Mutual also has that brand recognition that people care about. Also, a lot of times, if they're great on the home but not so great on the auto, but it's pretty close, I'll still do
the marriage is easier.
Yeah, because then that way people they have one claims department if they've got a auto and hail or auto and home claim, like hailstorm or something. A lot of times people are used to being with one carrier. We've been with State Farm forever, so saying, oh, I'm going to go put your auto with one company and your home with another one, and they've said, I don't want to do that.
Sure.
Then we'll typically just bundle it with the same carrier. But there's not one that I really shy away from. Sometimes, like if they have a bunch of policies, honestly, like the quoting platform will do it for me. Like, Travelers, super easy. You can quote all of them in one. Yeah. Safeco, pretty easy. You can quote all of them. Nationwide takes a little bit longer because for some reason, every time you change a field, like you change the deductible from $1,000 to $500, then the screen completely refreshes. Yeah. It takes forever. Yeah. You're just like, ugh. So,
And only an experienced agent would know that.
Would know that,
like, I'm not going to go through that.
You're like, this guy has he has 4 cars, a house, and 3 rental properties and wants an umbrella.
Yeah.
It's going to take me like 10 minutes to quote that in Travelers.
Yeah.
It's going to take me 20 minutes to quote that in Nationwide.
Okay.
The rate's almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
I'm going with Travelers.
Great. So time spent on the quote.
Time spent on the quote, is a big one.
Good.
But yeah, I'd say that's probably from my perspective, that's the only one, and that has to be if the rates are very similar. Like, we're always going to do what's best for the customer. I'm not going to give them a policy with the same coverage with a different carrier that's $500 more per year than I could get them just because I don't feel like spending an extra 10 minutes quoting it. You know what I mean?
I get it.
It's not how you do it.
All right. Last question.
Okay.
What would you tell younger Chris getting into the insurance industry?
Man, well, first I'd say stick with it, because my first month at Farmers, I made $96.
Oh, wow.
And, I had a business degree, and I have other friends that are, making 70 grand a year working for some company, and they're all happy and stuff. And, there were a lot of times where I was just, we're taking another rate increase. And I'm like, I just go do something else. So first thing I would say is stick with it.
Yeah.
First and foremost.
Yeah.
Secondly, I would say that a lot of the driving around that I was doing was probably not the best use of my time.
I see.
Even though it helped me, learn the business and market myself and things like that. And then I would say, learn everything you can from Farmers, knowing that you're going to be making the jump.
Knowing that you'll graduate yourself out.
Yes. So I would have said, do Farmers for a couple of years and then take a hike instead of staying there for the full 5, because I just think, we've done so well over the last 10 years that if I just had a couple more years of doing this, where we would be at right now. But, is what it is.
Yeah. Those are good learnings.
Yeah, definitely.
Good. Anything else you want to say?
I know, we were supposed to be laughing this whole time.
Yeah, right.
It's just nice. It's good to get all this stuff out. Because like I said, I don't talk to any other insurance people ever. So being able to
this is the first conversation he's had with an adult in a year.
The baby doesn't care about insurance. He doesn't give a crap. Anything else that I want to say? No.
This is your magical day. You're the kindergartner who gets to have the stuffed animal for the week.
Totally. I would say it's easy to be a little nervous as an insurance agent just because of the increase of people buying insurance online, the way that the insurance company markets itself, just saying that rate is the only thing that matters and that's it, and no the personal touch of having an agent explain coverages to you and things like that doesn't matter. It's all about the bottom line.
Right.
I would say that, that is being sort of, those are things that we can't control.
Right.
But what we can control are the value that we provide to our customers, the expertise that we provide, the service that we provide.
Yeah.
So, for the sake of our industry and all of us that, do this for a career and this is our livelihoods, is just keep providing the best possible service, make it so that insurance agents are just an indispensable part of the insurance world. Yeah. And, just keep grinding.
Yeah. Keep grinding. Yeah. All right, everybody. That has been the Chris Long episode of Insurance You Indemnify Me. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sean.
All right, we'll see you.
Yep.
Premier Group Insurance is providing this podcast for informational uses only. This podcast should not be relied on as legal or medical advice. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by Premier Group Insurance. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply any endorsement to them or any entity they represent. Views and opinions expressed by Premier Group Insurance employees, i.e. Sean Michael Walker, are those of the employees and do not necessarily reflect the view of Premier Group Insurance. Copyright 2022. Premier Group Insurance, Inc., all rights reserved.